Hello, everyone. Today is Friday, April the 7th, 2023, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate, Real Life, Real Talk, and Real Live with Damon, the agent. That is I, your host. If you all have any questions, please put it in the comment section so I can answer today's Q&A. But as always, when I do my shows, I always like to start off with real estate because that's mainly what my show is about. So, this week's topic is home values compared to Zillow's Zestimate, tax assessments, and incorrect appraisals. And the reason why I wanted to touch on this subject is because there have been a lot of misconceptions about the value of people's homes. Hold on for 1 second. Alexa, put the volume on 2. Okay, that's better. So I wanted to talk about these things because I've spoken with quite a few homeowners and I've spoken to people in reference to the value of their home. And it's been told to me by many people that based off their tax assessments, based off when they go online, Zillow has said this, based off, I even know two people who've gotten some appraisals, and the comparables in the appraisals were like comparing apples to oranges. So I wanted to just talk about the home values for people to get a clear understanding, because sometimes when people put their house on the market, sometimes people overprice their houses because everyone feels like their house is better than the neighbors. And also people tend to always listen to the news, which is very informative, but to be truthful, the news can't always give you the most accurate when it pertains to your situation. So let me explain what the true value of a home is. Now, on Zillow, people can plug in their address, and Zillow has this thing called a Zestimate. The Zestimate on Zillow, truthfully, overvalues most people's home. If you go and do Zillow and you type in the reviews for Zillow, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. They have this thing called Zestimate, and an overvalue, in my opinion, it gives people hope as far as what their house is worth. Because a lot of times what people need to take into consideration, that if you're in a certain zip code, and let's say you have a house that's sold for 600,000, and then you have a house that's sold for $1 million, then that's going to make the average house worth 800,000. But what you have to take into consideration also is that house that sold for 600,000 could have been a foreclosure or had a lot of repairs that were needed. That house that sold for $1 million could have been a house that was completely renovated, had more bedrooms, more square footage. These things play a huge factor in determining the value of a home. So when you go into a Zillow and you see for that particular zip code that the average sale is, say, 800,000, you have to take the condition of your home into consideration, along with the number of bedrooms, the square footage, and any recent upgrades. And when I say recent upgrades, meaning if the upgrades have been done within the last 2 years. If it's been 5 years ago or anything more than 2 years ago, understand that when appraisals look at the value of your home, they're taking these things into consideration because they go into many homes where they see most recent updates. So these updates are critical in determining the value of one's home. So I want people to take that into consideration, especially when you go into a website like Zillow, or you go into a website like Redfin, because those particular websites are giving you the average for that particular zip code. Okay. Now, the tax assessments. That has been brought to my attention too, because here's the thing. People get their annual tax assessment, and on the tax assessments every year, your taxes tend to go up. Okay. Now, in order for the counties and cities to justify the taxes going up, they have to give you an estimated value of your home. Now, pay attention to that, because a lot of times the tax assessment value of a particular home is not the true value of that particular home. I remember during when the housing market crashed, prior to that, taxes were going up every year. When the housing market crashed, the home value went down. But guess what? The taxes continued to go up. And when people were looking at their tax assessment bills, it was saying the estimated home value. So let's say if the house was worth at one particular time 350 and it went down to 300, when they got the tax assessment, now they're saying your house is worth 375 or 400,000. This is a way that the county and cities can justify raising taxes. A lot of times you all can dispute that whether you realize it or not. If you get a CMA or you get an appraisal done, you can challenge that, especially if your taxes are very high based off the tax assessments that they send you. You have to understand that they do not send an appraisal over to do the tax assessment, because an appraiser will have to have access into your home in order to know if there have been any upgrades, like I just mentioned, to know what the square footage is, and also, they need to know that in order to determine the true value of your home. But when you get the tax assessment, if you look on it, it always gives you estimated value of your home. Now, these estimated values are just an educated guess in order for the county and cities to justify raising taxes to you. So when people look at the tax assessment, please understand that what you see on there as an estimated value on the tax assessment is not necessarily the true value of one's home. It is just justification for the city/county in order to raise taxes, because those estimated values a lot of times are not the true value of a home. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about were some incorrect appraisals. Now, people sometimes pray for appraisal separately, in which their house is not on the market. A buyer has not submitted a contract, so they just want to know the value of their particular home. I was recently speaking with a lady in which she was talking about selling her home, and she also was telling me she had just gotten her house appraised, which I think it was like in 2021 when she got her house appraised. Now, when I went online to look at the comps, okay, the comps said around 330 to 350. Okay. She sent me a copy of the appraisal. I looked at the appraisals. Now, most time in appraisals, they're going to always do three comparables of any three comparables to the subject property, which is the house that's being appraised. Now, when they do that, they're supposed to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Now, on this particular appraisal report, she had two properties that were around 350, which were comparable to her property. There was one particular property that was priced 470. The house was completely renovated, all the bells and whistles, but her house wasn't. So in her mind, she feels like her house is worth closer to 4, even though right now the values are saying it's closer to 330 to 350, which is closer to those two that was on it. The reason why I say that is because if you get an appraisal and you look at those pictures in the appraisal, if they're not similar to the subject property, if they're not similar to your property, just understand that appraisal sometimes is not always doing what's close. Most appraisals are supposed to compare houses that are in the same subdivision if they're not within the same subdivision within a mile radius. If they cannot find any comps within a mile radius, yes, they have to go further than that to find the most closest and comparable one. But keep in mind that sometimes appraisal reports can be inaccurate. I was also speaking with another lady recently too about the value of her home, and she told me about what her appraisal, was on her home. And I asked her, could I see the report? She couldn't find it. But long story short, based off what she told me, and based off what her house was looking like and the comparable, I don't know how the appraisal came to that estimated value. So I wanted to see the comparable, because you do have inaccurate appraisal reports. It happens all the time. Sometimes when buyers submit contracts on homes, and then if a house is priced at a certain amount, and then let's say the value comes in lower than what the offer amount is, if the agents can justify and send comparables that will show the true value, it can offset that appraisal report. But if they can't, then yes, they have to stick with that value of the home. But I want you all to understand and take these things into consideration when it pertains to the true home value of your home. There are a lot of misconceptions when it pertains to people's homes. A lot of people feel like their house is worth more than it is. The market dictates what your house is worth. The dollar, and I don't know if people have been watching, the US dollar seems to be losing value these days. A lot of countries don't want to honor the US dollar. So if the US dollar is losing value in other countries, imagine what it's doing in this country. And on top of that, times change. The economy changed. When you go through a recession, when you're in a good economy, all of these things plays a variable factor as far as the value of a home. So a lot of times it is best to do your due diligence in making sure that your house is priced correctly, making sure that your house is, because of course everybody wants $1 million. You want $1 million or plus for your home, regardless of what it is. Everybody always want, you know what I'm saying? But wanting versus reality sometimes are two different things. And you have to be in the realities of what it is. We can have hope, we can pray for things, but we have to be realistic about things too, because realistic is what's going on in front of you. I just say that to say that please keep these things in mind when it pertains to the home value. You're the true home value. Zillow with their Zestimate can be very misleading. Tax assessments can be very misleading, and sometimes the appraisal report, if it has an inaccurate comp, can be very misleading. Always do your due diligence, or if you want a CMA, which is a comparable market analysis of your property, just reach out to me. I have no problem sending it to you all. We can have a conversation about that, but I just want you all to have a clear understanding on that. So I'll be right back. Okay. Tomorrow, I just want to remind people, tomorrow I am having a home buyer seminar in the Largo area in Maryland. If anyone is interested in coming through to find out the latest programs and also to get the steps in the home buying process, it will be from 1 to 3 p.m. Please register on my social media pages. If you go to my Facebook or my Instagram, the link is there to register. If you're on Linktree, just Damon the Agent is my Linktree, so you can also register on there. I like to have an accurate head count because of the fact that I am giving people pizza, wings, drinks, and also someone's going to win a $75 Visa gift card on top of being educated about the whole entire home buying process. So I just want you all to come out, have a good time. If you have any questions, one young lady told me she's scared of the whole process. I don't want anyone to be scared of this process because it is a good process. Home ownership opens the door for so many things. What I'm saying? It gives you collateral if you're trying to start a business. It gives you collateral if you need to get a loan. If you have equity in your property, you don't necessarily need to go into the bank to get a home loan. You can pull the money out of that property. Your home acts like a cash cow for you. On top of that, when you apply for things, I don't know if you'll ever realize it, but when you apply for things, if you'll ever notice where it asks, do you own or do you rent? The reason why I ask you that is because if you own property, what ends up happening is your approval rating skyrockets on most things that you apply for because they know you have collateral by owning that home. And on top of that, they know they're going to get their money back because of the fact they can slap a lien against your property if they don't. So just know that home ownership opens the door for so many people in so many ways. And then even if you choose not to stay in the home, you can always rent it out, make money from that. It's many ways that many people make money by owning a home. Donald Trump became rich through real estate. So I just want you all to say that. And Warren Buffett also, he actually owns a real estate company now. But I won't talk about his company. But at the same time, I'm just saying that please come through if you don't own a home. Even if you own a home and you just plan on buying another home, you just want to get some insight, come through. Please register also because I just want to make sure I get enough pizza for everyone, and I also want to make sure I have enough seating for everyone. So I just wanted to say that tomorrow is my home buying seminar, please go to my social media, follow all my social media, but on my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Instagram, the link is posted for the home buying seminar tomorrow. Please come through. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. I look forward to seeing you all there. I'm going to do a quick recap on today. Home values versus Zillow Zestimate, tax assessment, and incorrect appraisals. Always do your due diligence because Zillow Zestimate, tax assessment, and incorrect appraisals are very misleading. And sometimes when people are putting their house on the market, you don't want to overprice your house because it becomes a stale listing. I talked about stale listings a few weeks ago. So just go back, check out my previous podcast or go on my YouTube and you will see. So if I want to say also to everyone, happy Good Friday to you all. Happy Easter to you all. And I look forward to seeing all of you all tomorrow at my home buying seminar. So thank you all for joining me today.